Hello, everybody. Who in here would consider themselves a runner? We have quite a few. It's a bit iffy. You, sir, like how often do you run?
2 to 3 times a week.
2 to 3 times a week. Who else put their hand up? Let's check. Nearby. How many times do you run? 2 times a week, you said? How many people have a like a fitness watch of some type? Okay, perfect. So even if you're not a runner, I think this talk will be pretty interesting. My name is Adam Gordon-Bell. I'm a community engineer at Pulumi, and yeah, I'm gonna talk to you about this AI running coach that I built. So this is Malcolm. This is my friend Malcolm. And for the purposes of this talk, he is my enemy. He's my rival. Malcolm, he's very outdoorsy, much more outdoorsy than myself, and every year he proposes to me that we should do some sort of race, some sort of activity. One year we did a run in this Halliburton wolf preserve where they were trying to reintroduce wolves, I guess, and we had to pay a fee in case we got lost because they had to rescue us because I guess wolves. Anyways, every year he will convince me to sign up for one of these things in the spring, and I'll be like, that's a great idea because I just sit at my computer all day and this will force me to get out in the world and exercise, and then we'll have the race, and then I'll survive. And when I'm really focused, I'm like, I want to beat Malcolm. But this has been going on for a long time, and I've never beat Malcolm. He's faster than me every time. So last year, and the year before, we went to this race called the Monsters of Mazenod. This is Mazenod Lake. It is in Ontario in Canada, a couple hours away from where I live in the middle of nowhere. It's on the Canadian Shield. It's a beautiful lake, beautiful area. And they have an ultra run there, like an ultra marathon. And it looks like this, like when you're running through it. It's the Canadian Shield. It's like a single track run through like basically just roots and rocks. There's no real dirt. And you have to get by people if you want to pass, or for me, it's more people passing me, but it's a challenging race. Last year, we did just the 10K version, and he beat me by about 7 minutes. And the year before that, he also beat me by about 7 minutes. But this last time, I really tried. And when it finished and he had beat me, I said, like, I need to beat him, right? And I think I can do it because he's not actually the fastest runner in the world. He's just significantly faster than me, right? And so instead of just starting to run, a couple months before the race every year, this was in September that this race was. I was like, I'll just start now. If I keep running all year round, by the time we get back to the race again, we agreed to do this 30K version, so that the longer version, but not the full ultra, I should be able to beat him. So this was my big idea. I just need to run more. Like, I don't need to be in the Boston Marathon. I just need consistency in my running and something to provide me continuous feedback. And I also had this idea at the same time because I was using coding agents all the time to build things, and I was having so much fun that we were in a great place where you could build software just for yourself, right? Like just a specific thing that I wanted to do, just software that's very personal to my needs, right? It knows about my running, it knows about my goals, it knows I want to beat Malcolm. It's not the online Strava running coach, it's the I got to beat Malcolm in 2026 coach, right? It's not optimized for best marathon times, but for this specific race. And so I started building this. And I think that I learned a lot from this, but the thing I learned the most is like, it is just a great time to build something very specific to your needs. And Python's like a great language to do it in. So here's my vague plan, right? So I have some Python code, I have a running plan every morning. It basically looks at my training plan, looks at the runs I've done this week, and tells me like, hey, today you need to do this run. I put an LLM there in the middle so it can provide some feedback, right? It is my running coach. And then also, right, I'm using Strava. So when I do a run on my watch, then it gets synced to Strava, which stores all this run data. I register as a web app, and then every time I do a run, a webhook calls my Python code, and I get new data in. So I don't just get a reminder when I need to run each day, but every time I finish the run, I have my LLM coach stepping in and providing me feedback. This is my basic plan. I started this all before there was this big crazy trend with like OpenClaw, but basically I'm building something very similar to that. So Strava has my data, right? And then I set up a Lambda running on AWS. That Lambda is just some Python code that runs whenever this webhook's called it, or on this cron job at 6 a.m. It stores some of this data in DynamoDB, and then it calls an LLM, and then it posts it to Slack. It's pretty simple. And I can also set up all this infrastructure just using Python as well. So I work for Pulumi. My boss is there in the back, so I have to get some Pulumi in here so they can understand why I'm here talking about beating my friend Malcolm. But this worked really well, right? I could just describe the infrastructure I needed in Python, then I have another Python file that is my running coach, and I'm off to the races, right? This is like just, if I want to do a cron job, I just put together, it's a little DSL, as he was just discussing, for describing, hey, here's a cron job to run in AWS, run my job. I'm also kind of cheap. So the cool thing that happened was, because I'm running in a Lambda, and it only runs whenever it gets called, and I'm only running like max once a day, it costs me almost nothing. I'm basically in the AWS free tier. The only costs I'm really accumulating are from the LLM calls. And this has been running for a while, so when I looked back at my graphs, it's impossible to see here, but it's like about $1 a month in LLM costs. So quite cheap as far as coaches go. And this is something cool, like if you want to build something like this, a personal assistant or something to help you out with habits, there's a lot of places where you can kind of free ride on these cloud platforms to run a personal tool. So on AWS, like my bill is basically 1 penny each month using Lambda DynamoDB, but you can do the same on GCP or on Azure, or even Cloudflare has workers now. Oracle has a pretty generous free tier, I guess, that people use a lot. But yeah, each platform tends to have some way that you can run a personal project for almost nothing. Just set up an account. Next problem is like, what does my coach tell me? I need some way to do training. So my training system is based on heart rate zones. Yeah, so heart rate zones are based on the idea of taking your max heart rate and then working backwards, splitting that up into zones. And then my training plan is very simple. Mainly it's like getting me out there and doing more runs, but it's also like getting certain amount of times in certain heart rate zones so that I get a certain training effect. Basically, this is a polarized training approach where you're supposed to spend lots of time in this kind of zone 2 area you can see here, which is just like kind of running but not going super fast, because you're less likely to injure yourself and you get a good training response from that. And then, very occasionally, like 20% of the time, you run really fast, which helps you build more speed. So mainly, my system is just the coach telling me to do lots of slow runs. But I have some problems, right? To make this work, I need to get all the data. And there's actually 2 types of runs I do. So I'm in Canada. On the left is the Peterborough trail running group that I run with, and we go running out in the woods, and it's super fun. But on the right is me on my treadmill in my basement, because it gets cold in the winter, and sometimes I don't want to leave the house. And so a lot of my running time is just on my Peloton tread, and it has Netflix on there. And you can see I actually have my computer. It's a true story. I have my little computer off to the side, so sometimes I will be asking Claudebot with like voice activation to make changes to my running app while I'm running and watching a TV show at the same time. Getting a lot done at once. But the problem is, the first outdoor runs is very easy. I can get that data from Strava. Peloton is less of an open system. My Peloton treadmill is amazing, but Peloton does not have an API. Does anyone here work for Peloton? You should probably have an API. My Peloton tread is awesome, and I love it. And I suggest that a lot of people use it. And so I hope that when they see that message, they will be okay with me explaining how I scrape the data from Peloton by possibly violating their terms and conditions. In theory. So to get the data from Peloton is a little bit more complicated, but they do have a website, like some React site that you go to, and you can see graphs of your data. And obviously, if your data is there and you can see it in a web browser, there is a way for my Lambda to go out and get that as well. So basically, I have my Lambda get my JWT token that I use when I'm logging in and just like hold on to that and refresh it so that it can scrape the website and get my runs out every day. So things getting a little bit more complicated. Right now, my system's kind of like this. I have a Lambda, and it gets called whenever Strava gets a new run in, but it will also go out and scrape Peloton. And then I also have my cron. The next thing is how much of the logic should be in an LLM and how much should be just standard Python code, right? So the run data that you get from these systems is very different than what you might see if you're looking at their UI, right? You're getting basically raw data of like at every second, how many meters per second you're traveling forward, what your elevation is. You could tell an LLM to like add those up, but the rule that I tried to follow was whenever I'm doing something that's very procedural, like just use plain old code, right, to handle this. Whenever you're doing something that requires more, soft expertise, give that to the LLM. So I call this the cognitive delegation principle, and I tried to keep it in mind. Like, if there's a way to do a problem with just code, I just do it with code. And that way, I have a lot less token costs, and things are a lot more predictable. So one of the big code parts is just transforming this data. I have data coming in from a couple sources. If I'm using my watch to track my heart rate on my Peloton, and I'm running on the Peloton, I will have data from both that I need to kind of bring together. I will have cadence data from both about my feet. And so I put together this kind of like columnar store of each run. So it has like for every second, various data sources, right? My heart rate, my speed, my cadence, my power, what my heart rate was. And I also have the source, right? Because I can actually have more than one source in theory. My foot cadence could come from my treadmill and from my watch as well. The timer has just restart, which I assume means they want me to I can go as long as I want. So that data is cleaned up and nice, but it's actually not the right data for an LLM. So I take that raw data and I store it in S3. It's like my raw data of what happened every second during my run. And then I roll that up to an activity record where here you can see my zones, right? I have my heart rate zones based on what my particular zones are, how much time is in them, average incline, etc. This is the type of information that a running coach might actually want. And then from there, I take that and I just turn that into text, right? So my run turns into something like this, wherein I can see for the current week, how many activities I've done, how much time is in each zone, what my recent history is, etc. So my coach needs that to tell me if I'm doing a good or bad job, right? It needs the history of how my runs are going. Also, it needs some sort of prompt about what my training plan is and my goals. So for that, I have a plan that describes, like all year long, a plan. Like during the first couple months, we're just getting more volume up, which was called the fall reset. And then in the winter, it was just more time on the treadmill. And then in spring, that we're now in, I need to like get outside and do more trails. And so the plan changes over the course of the year, and the LLM is given this. What it puts out is this. You can see in the out part. So each week, it will tell me, like, here's when you should do your various runs, right? And as the week progresses, it checks them off. So for my current plan right now, there's like 3 runs during the week, and then 1 long run, and then a strength session. This is what it actually looks like in practicality in my Slack. So it will find, based on what I've done in the week, what parts are left, right? It will tell me, based on the days remaining, what I should do. And then it has a text part where it will tell me, like, great work, or not so great work, or what have you been doing? And then for the daily check-in, it will kind of give me the same type of thing, try to motivate me or provide feedback on how things are going. The best part is that the plan adjusts because the LLM is running every day. So here on Monday, we have a plan. It has a number of runs broken down. You can see none of them are checked off because it's currently Monday. We get to Tuesday, and the Monday plan wasn't actually done. Like, I didn't actually do the run. This happens a lot. Did I mention? Sometimes I'm not good at following my plan. but it adjusts, right? So on Tuesday, it's readjusted the plan, and etc., right? After a couple days, my LLM knows, oh, my motivation has kind of flagged. And so one way I make the system work is I try to evaluate how motivated I am at running, right? So by the third day that I haven't run, instead of giving me, here's your plan, and here's the 3 ways that you've screwed it up and you're never going to hit it, the LLM is just like, hey, maybe just do a 20-minute run today. We won't even talk about the plan, just maybe consider that. Right? And I found this more motivational than like hitting me with the plan and the reasons I failed. To do this, I have a prompt, and in the prompt, it just judges my motivational state and changes what it will do. So if my state is considered fragile, it doesn't put out the plan, it just says like, hey, maybe consider a run. But the secret ingredient that made this all work was intention stacking. So intention stacking is this idea where if there's something that you really like to do, and then there's something that you want to do, that you combine them together and only do them together, right? And so for me, one of the big ones there is just finding a TV show that I want to watch and watching it on my treadmill to get in my time. Especially, I was watching Stranger Things, which I hadn't watched. So there's like a whole bunch of old seasons, and they have good, like cliffhangers, and that makes me want to run the next day. But the other thing is that I would encourage for everybody here, like if you're building something like this, probably you just like building things, like building little side projects. And by building a side project about this hobby that I wanted to master, I just wanted to keep doing it, right? Like if I had a new idea for structuring my program, I had to test it out by actually running. So I combined my love of like side projects I never finish with my love of signing up for races that I finish but not well. And so the next feature I added was chats. And incorporating feedback about how things went, right? So I had a Sunday when I was super keen on this, and I still had to do my long run and my strength training, and it was the end of the week. So I decided like, okay, well, I need to do my strength training routine and my long run, and I did them both. And my strength training for that week was just like legs, like doing squats and lunges and stuff. And then the next day, like I couldn't really walk. I had hit myself too hard, and I couldn't get down the stairs. I could, but it was painful and slow. And so I said in my chat, in my Slack thing, I'm like, yeah, that was a bad idea, right? And so it remembers that. I just made it so the bot in its loop, when it gets feedback on me on how things are going, it saves it through an S3 doc. And then each time as it prompts, it's building up what works and what doesn't work for me. So that kind of works like this. Grab some water. Basically, you don't need OpenClaw. Like it seems cool to use it, and there's lots of things you can build on this, but I just have a Python file, right, that is calling the LLM APIs and doing a loop, and it has a registered function call. So when I tell it something, it's like, okay, I should call this function and save that for the future. And that save goes into S3, and so it has it each time. Pretty simple system, but you learn a lot by building these kind of agentic harnesses yourself. You can use off-the-shelf things, but I found this a great learning experience. And then it started really working. So once I started recording these thoughts of what was working, it started to learn more about me. And there was a day where I didn't really want to run after work, and then I got down there and I did my run. I was supposed to do like for half an hour, but I ran for like an hour or more because I was watching Stranger Things and I was super excited and I wanted to see what was happening next, and I was like really into it, and I finished, the run, and I was super excited, and I just put in the Slack thing while I was cooling off, I was like, hey, today, I didn't want to run, but once I got on, kept going, it was super good because I was watching Stranger Things on the treadmill. And then the next day, I get my message at 6 a.m. when I'm checking on Slack. It has a message that just says, today after work, jump on the treadmill and keep watching Stranger Things. And I was like, yeah, no, that sounds awesome, right? I want to know what's happening with the Demogorgon. And like I made a rule, like I'm not watching these shows outside of the treadmill. And so it was super effective, right? I found the things that motivate myself, or I guess the LLM did. Okay, let's show you how this works. So, I don't know if I can mic. Is this one working still? No. We'll see if I can one-hand this. So I'm going to just force it to reconsume another run. And hopefully that will run through the whole process. And then in Slack here, we can see here's my 6 a.m. message. And it's giving me a hard time because I'm not running. And then we should have a new one come in. And you can see this is just, I'm in Slack all the time. So I just have it post each run things here. And you can see since I've been traveling, it's like, last run 3 days ago, what are you doing? Oh, and here we go. So here's the run that I did coming in. And so you can see here's my Friday run that came in just now. It gives me some feedback. I put in some like graphing stuff because I wanted to see like, oh, here's my fitness improving over time. So this is the general flow of it. It's pretty simple, but it works really well for me, for motivating me, right? Because once I had consumed all this data into S3, I was like, I can do graphs now. Like I have all my runs, like I can go crazy. And I'm using Cloud Code, so I'm just like, hey, make me a graph of some stuff. People at PyTexas are gonna love this. So here is, the line here is when I started using this, right? So since I've started using this momentum bot, which is my name for it, my running volume is up. And when I look at consecutive streaks, so weeks where I run, because some weeks I would just fall off and forget, right? Ever since starting using the app, my consecutiveness is way up. And then also, if you look at average minutes per week spent running, this far right one, I'm also way up. So I'm doing better. This is working. I would encourage everybody, let's see what's on the next slide. Yeah. I would encourage everybody to build something like this. Like if you want a fun project to build, you can personalize it to exactly what you need. And it's super fun. And yeah, I mean, I was using Cloud Code and I was doing it on the treadmill, so it's not like I don't know every line of code here inside and out, but building it with the user as myself is just super fun. If you have data that you're generating in your life, you can hook an LLM up to it and build some sort of feedback system that helps guide you towards it. I think there's a lot of cool things that we get done with this, right? I have a scale that sends data into some web app, like why isn't this bot getting this, right? I have this Oura ring, like, I don't know, there's a lot of data that I'm being generated, and now I'm just thinking like, hey, this should be my bot, right? It should be learning these things, it should be giving me advice. How's my sleeping going? What could I improve, etc. So, I mean, that's my big question to everybody here is like, what could you build, right? If there's something that you're trying to do, or if there's some source of data you're generating, it's very easy to build something like this, right? The barrier is gone because you can kind of use, you know, your coding bot subscription. You can kind of free ride on a cloud account, and you can just have something that you can kind of tinker around on and learn at the same time. But the thing I still don't know is if I'm going to beat Malcolm. So the race is in September. My running volume is up, and I feel like I'm faster, but I don't know, right? So I have to keep going. Maybe if anyone wants to come, it's a ways away from Texas. But Saturday, September 19th, I will try to beat Malcolm at a 30K. And yeah, I think that I'll do it. I think. Thank you.
And here I ran up to volunteer to be your mic stand, so your hands were free. Let's see, I've got, 4 questions. This is like live tagging and approving questions. Your peek behind the curtain at how this works. Are you ready for questions? All right, he's standing in the question asking position. Question number 1, how did you safeguard your data while using an LLM? Were there any privacy concerns?
We'll pass it back and forth.
I did not safeguard my data. I mean, it's coming from Strava. Like the one thing I like now is I now have all my run data, you know, stored in an S3 bucket that I own. And I am using an open weight model, which I didn't get into, but I'm using an open weight model, but I'm not running it myself. I don't have the GPUs to do that. So yeah, the data's out there, but I apologize.
You just made this AppSec engineer a little sad. All right, what was the most technically complex part of making your app?
Bringing the data together was the most complex part. especially if I'm using my watch to do my heart rate on the treadmill, and then the treadmill also has data, and then sometimes I don't hit the start on both at the same time. And so we're getting in like timestamp data from two different sources that often conflict. Like the treadmill does a great job of telling me how far I've run because it has its belt and it knows how far that is. But if I press start at a different time on the watches, then that's super complex. So that part became really challenging. The other part that was so challenging I abandoned it was finding out if I was getting faster. So I have all this like second by second run data across all these runs. Like I should be able, in theory, to see improvements in my running, but it's super noisy, right? If I went out for too many drinks the night before, maybe I'm not quite as fast, or I just didn't get enough sleep, and like the noise floor is so high, I wasn't able to get a good signal on whether I'm getting faster.
I'm gonna hit you rapid fire with a couple of questions that you can nod or shake your head. So I'm giving you yes or no's here. Blink 1 for yes, 2 for no. There was the question here of, do you have it give you an encouraging notification if you miss a running day? I think you answered that during the presentation, and yes, you do. What model did you use? I heard Claude.
So I used Claude for coding. The actual LLM is running on the open weight model that OpenAI open sourced. It's like OSS something or other.
Okay, that's a good way to save money there too, by using the local ones. Let's see. I'm going to synthesize from a couple of questions here. What's the easiest way to get started? How do you eat an elephant?
I assume not with running, right? With building this?
Yeah, it's with building it.
Yeah.
Although, both are valid.
So my scan this link. So my actual running app, I'm not open sourcing because it has a lot of weird like Adam things, like check Adam's scale for how his weight's going. But I took the general concept and I pulled it out. It's like a couple of Python files. You can play around with it. It's a great place to start. It's not that much code.
Okay.
You can do it.
Let's see. Are you using Strava specifically because it has an API, or the health tracking accuracy is also reliable?
Yeah, I'm using it because I'm just using it as a data store. Everything seems to be able to push data to Strava. And so I can yank that back out.
Cool. Sorry, I'm trying to tag a couple of things. Let's see. We have time for, I think, one more question. The most upvoted one here is, do you have any automated evaluations, or are you just manually testing it since it's your own personal app?
Oh, I did write a couple evals where like I give it some like run history of myself and what does it say. But yeah, mainly it's just me testing it out, making changes and running.
I totally read that question, by the way, is do you even unit test, bro? All right, well, I think that's a good place to leave it off with questions.
Thank you, everybody.